Godzilla vs. Ultraman. It's the dream fight every dedicated fan of these creations of Eiji Tsuburaya longs to see. A true test of strength between the king of the monsters and the greatest giant hero. Though the two have occasionally crossed paths in media outside the world of show business, as of now the yearned-for on-screen meeting of the world's biggest tokusatsu superstars remains unrealized. Or does it? To answer that question, let's take a deep dive into the history of the Kaiju Jiras. But let me just warn you, we're in for a thrill. It wouldn't take a die-hard Toku fan to spot the similarities this loosely disguised monster from episode 10 of Ultraman shares with a certain well-known giant atomic reptile. And that's no wonder, because Jirass was actually created by just slapping the head of the Godzilla suit from Invasion of Astro Monster atop the body of the Godzilla costume from Mothra vs. Godzilla, adding a frill around the neck, spraying on a little yellow paint, and calling it a day. Let's get into the history of how that happened. When Eiji Tsuburaya's Ultraman series began airing in the summer of 1966, despite the show's launch being a major success, behind the scenes things seemed to have been in a bit of a chaotic situation. The team working on the show was struggling to stay on schedule completing the episodes, and the costs for the actors, studios, equipment, and staff had Tsuburaya Productions worried. The average cost to produce each episode was apparently about 4.6 million yen, which, if my math professor friend writing Cicada Wise is correct, when adjusted for inflation is about $138,000 per episode in modern US currency. Eventually, when figures and other merchandise based on the show began to be rolled out, Tsuburaya Productions was able to get their finances under control. But it seems that before these sources of revenue became available, the team had to take care to keep the budget for each episode down as much as possible. Particularly, sources say, during production of episodes 8 through 19. These financial struggles were probably what influenced Tsuburaya Productions to turn to their good friends at Toho, to rent the head of the Invasion of Astro Monster Godzilla suit for use in episode 10. The plan was to reuse the Vs. Mothra costume Toho had already loaned them for Ultra Q, instead of having to pay for a totally new monster costume as it seems they'd originally been intending, but replace the head which had been modified into the face of the Kaiju Gomez. Toho was willing to let the special effects company use the Astro Monster suit under one condition, that a costume that had been modified back to looking like Godzilla be returned to them. So, in order to ensure this obligation was fulfilled, Toll Narita, the artist in charge of designing Jirass, made the intentional decision to have the suit restored to Godzilla's original appearance within the episode itself. This seems to be why by the end of Ultraman's battle with Jirass in the show, the creature's frill is removed, and aside from a little paint, it basically appears identical to the king of the monsters. Jirass's name is apparently based on a nickname given to the man who wrote the screenplay of the monster's debut episode, Tetsuo Kinjo. He was called Jiroshu, which may have been pronounced Jirasu, and which apparently means Uncle Jiro. This is probably a coincidence, but if you removed two characters from the monster's name and added a different one at the beginning... As far as the English spelling of the name, I've seen a ton of different variants, so it's basically up to you which version you want to go with. The similarities the monster has with Godzilla don't stop with the name. Just look at who they brought on as the suit actor to play Jirass. That's right, Haruo Nakajima, famous for playing the king of the monsters in the character's first 12 films. In addition, Jirass's roar was just a sped-up version of Godzilla's cry. And on top of everything else, he was given a heat ray attack that looked much like Godzilla's own signature move. And as a result of all these factors, we could truly say that the stage was set for the battle of the ages, Godzilla vs. Ultraman, a true test of strength between the king of the monsters and the greatest giant hero. The only caveat being that Godzilla would be going by a different name and wearing a scarf. So let's get into episode 10, the Mysterious Dinosaur Base, from an in-universe perspective, and watch the two titans of Tokusatsu take each other on. A mad scientist who loved dinosaurs maybe a bit too much, secretly spent 15 years raising his own Loch Ness monster within Lake Kitayama. The creature's presence there resulted in an unnaturally huge growth in the fish population in the lake. Apparently the professor may have been hurling too much food down into the lake when he fed his creation, and so the science patrol moved out to investigate. They somehow never spotted the monster during their probe of the lake, but they were still in the area when the kaiju eventually decided to show itself. The Science Patrol immediately went into attack mode, but the crazy professor tried to prevent them from destroying his creation and called on Jirass to rampage and show them his strength, which of course the monster did by first mortally wounding the mad scientist. Does this whole crazy professor and his monster dynamic remind you of a previous video on this channel? 'Cause to me it sure does. When Jirass approached the mad scientist's laboratory where several people were trapped, Hayata transformed into Ultraman to rescue them, and the battle you've all been waiting to see finally began. Ultraman behaved in an unusually cocky manner during this fight, constantly taunting his opponent in an uncharacteristic way. Jirass, began the match by showing off his electric heat ray to Ultraman and destroying a large boulder, so the red and silver hero decided to follow suit. This provoked Jirass, who tried to ram the Ultra, but Ultraman shoved him into the ground and actually started laughing at him. What's gotten into you, Ultraman? It's almost as if he knew who he was actually facing. Ultraman dodged every blast of Jirass's ray, and then moved in and ripped off the Kaiju's frill, as if to say, "I know who you are, Godzilla." Then he began using it like a bullfighter's cape to lure the furious Kaiju in, before dodging each attack. The two briefly wrestled each other on the ground, with Jirass finally being able to lower Ultraman's energy, but that would be the best the surprisingly outmatched monster could manage. When the creature charged at the hero again, a powerful blow to the stomach caused the Kaiju to stand still, and then moments later collapse, dead. The Ultra Hero had been toying with the disguised monster while the Kaiju was alive, but at least he had the decency to show some respect to his forebear after killing him. And thus the matter was settled. Ultraman had decisively defeated Godzilla. Though to be fair to the king of the monsters, he wasn't exactly fighting under circumstances that favored him. With the announcement of the Shin Japan Heroes universe last year, perhaps someday soon we will finally get to see an authentic match between the two, on an even playing field without any disguises. A no-frills battle, shall we say. But for now, we do have the legendary Episode 10 of Ultraman, and for that we should be thankful. But wait, don't go anywhere. The history of Jirass doesn't stop there. While it's true that as of now the Kaiju has yet to make a real reappearance in a main Ultraman series, which really isn't that surprising considering he's basically Godzilla, so Tsuburaya might need Toho's permission to use him, he has made no shortage of minor appearances, and one other sort of major appearance we'll get to momentarily. Stock footage of Ultraman's original fight with Jirass was used in all 4 of these instances, and the monster was discussed in an Ultramonster Encyclopedia TV program from the late 80s. A cutout of the monster was briefly shown in Episode 12 of Return of Ultraman, and the Kaiju appeared in 11 episodes of the low-budget show Red Man, often teaming up with monsters like Alien Baltan and Rodan to defeat the hero, and failing each and every time. Jirass snuck his way into several animes featuring Ultraman characters, and in the Ultraman puppet shows produced by the creators of Gojira called Ultra P, Jirass was given a son, Jirass Jr., whose mold apparently was later modified into Little in Gojira. He can supposedly be seen floating about the monster graveyard in episode 21 of Ultraman Mebius, and he was one of the over 100 monsters that made up the gigantic kaiju Belular in Ultra Galaxy Legends the movie. This eye catch, featuring Jirass getting ready to eat some noodles, was shown in Ultra Zone, and a medal with the monster's face on it was used to enhance Teleston into Aramaki Teleston in the Ultraman Z series. See what I mean when I say there's been no shortage of minor Jirass appearances? The monster has also made appearances in comics, manga, and stage shows, and been referenced in other media. He just hasn't shown up in the flesh in a normal Ultraman show again. In 2021, however, he came pretty close, in the first episode of the comedic Sevenger fight series, a parody of the low-budget Ultra Fight show from long ago. In this silly show, when the frilled monster showed up, Sevenger was dispatched to prevent it from reaching the city. The kaiju and the robot exchanged blows, and eventually Sevenger was able to rip the monster's frills off, after which the members of Storage watching the battle noticed that the monster looked kind of familiar. The last part of the fight was based directly on episode 10 of Ultraman, even ending with Sevenger laying the monster's frill back on its head after defeating it. This wouldn't be a complete history of Jirass unless we also got into the world of Jirass toys. The Ultra Monster series version of the monster by Bandai is highly sought after, and it's easy to see why. Not only does it look nice, but it probably appeals to both Ultraman and Godzilla collectors as well. In fact, almost any kind of Jiras merchandise fetches a very high price, so you should be thrilled if you happen to own any.
This was an awesome class, Professor. I'm definitely gonna support you with a like and a sub.
Ah, thanks, Kashimu-kun?
Kishimu-kun? Oh no, you must be thinking of someone else. I'm a new student. My name is Kyogi-kun.
Now wait just a minute, Kishimu-kun. What kind of game is this?
It's the truth.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, then this frill here shouldn't be able to come off. Pencil Leopard, would you mind coming up here and exposing this little rascal?
I'm not Pencil Leopard. My name is Stationary Cougar, but I'll be glad to do what you ask.
Wait, you two? All right, students. Haha, very funny, but it's not very respectful to prank your professor like this. Hello, Wise. Could you explain to the kids that—
Who's Wise? I'm sorry, I'm a new professor here. My name is Speeding Bug Strongest.
What?
What is all the commotion in here?
Mr. Principal, there's something really strange going on in here.
Wait, hold on. I'm not the principal. I'm just a school ground gardener, but I can't work with all this noise.
But you look just like—
Hey, sorry to interrupt, but are you really the famous Toku Professor? Or are we in the wrong classroom? 'Cause he doesn't have a frill.
Wait, what? What is going on? Who's that laughing? Oh no! The video's ending! Wait, don't leave me, students!